So I went out there. I was like, I'm going to see what race effort feels like. And fortunately, what I thought race effort was going to be, I was able to go quite a bit faster, which is good. So I know that no matter what, I'll be able to bite my lip and pull you through. So that's
So
good.
all I heard there is that my pace is slow and it's super easy for you to do that. But that's fair. That's what it is. That's the game we're playing right now.
That's not what that was not the message I was trying to put across. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One day,
3 months I've been working at this just to get to be not so slow.
you're not slow, Gary. I'm just really fast. No, edit that out.
This is true. But yeah, I realized that assuming we go on Sunday, so we'll figure out Saturday or Sunday. Sunday is January 10th. And the first workout I actually did was October the 10th. So it's 3 months. It's 90 days that we've been doing this. And it's been great. It's been like, actually, that was longer than I thought. I somehow in my head had closer to like 8 weeks. I didn't realize it had been 12. And I know off the hop, it's probably because the first 4 weeks was such a conditioning phase that I always felt like the workouts weren't representative of fitness. They were representative of a body that wasn't physically prepared for that muscular stress.
Yep.
So every workout I was like, yeah, I'm just destroyed. I don't feel like I ran as fast as I could, but that's as fast as my legs would carry me. So it feels like it's been about 6 to 8 weeks of workouts that reflect my actual fitness. So today was the finale in the workouts. And it feels good. It feels good to know that I get to line up and make this thing happen here on Saturday or Sunday. I guess we'll figure out exactly the date here.
Yeah, man. And like you said, it was interesting because it's exactly it. Like when we first started, it was like, let's see where the body's at. So it was like you're training your energy systems, but you're also training your skeletal system and your structural system and your nervous. There was so much adapting that had to happen within your body. So yeah, that was the first block was like, get your legs under you. And then once you got your legs under you and you got that momentum and the rhythm of training hard in that regard, it was go time. And then you just crushed it from there, which was awesome.
I'm actually super pleased with the fact that 3 months on, I'm sitting here healthy, uninjured, and ready to tackle this. And again, coming from the injury history the last couple of years, I wasn't concerned about that specifically, but after the first few workouts, I was really concerned about calves, hamstrings, just like really getting overloaded, stressed, and injured. And I have to say that the rolling stick that I've talked about in one of our previous, that has been my saving grace. I would not have been able to continue doing this if I didn't have that stick and I wasn't getting into my calves every single day. And I hate that 5 minutes of my day more than anything else in the 23 hours and 55 minutes outside of it. But that 5 minutes a day is what's allowed me to just release the tension in the legs. That, and then my stretching routine. So the way I do my stretching routine is I do a short routine in the shower. And for me, it's because I have something that I'm going to do that day, showering, that I align it with. So there's no excuse. So I have to actually make a decision if I'm not going to do it, right? You can't, I can't actually forget about doing it and claim ignorance. It's like, no, I'm in the shower, your body's warmed up from the heat, and you're now choosing if you're going to do this stretching or not. And there are some days where you're like, I'm not doing this, I don't want to do it. But 75 to 90% of the time, I do a short stretching routine for my hamstrings and calves in the shower. So I find attaching it to a routine at least allows me to ensure I don't forget that I'm making a decision if I'm going to do it or not.
That's great advice. And that's a great life hack almost, right? And then that makes so much sense, right? It's so crazy. Like people will frequently, and I was guilty of it. A lot of my peers are guilty of it. It's like, we won't blink an eye at running 2 hours a day. It's just what we do. But then you have 10 minutes of supplementary stuff and you're like, nah, I'd rather just sit on the couch and do nothing. And it's weird. It's this weird psychological thing that's going on. But like you said, like, so put yourself in a position where it's just what you do and you do it. And speaking of showering, I kept forgetting to shower because I took a couple of days off after my 100, and I would just like my shower every day was usually like, after my run I shower. So there was a couple days there, and Jen's like, when was the last time you showered? And I was like, Oh, I'm sorry. This is gross.
We've made that joke in this household before, like people who don't run, how do you know when to shower? Like people that don't work out, that's our trigger. It's like you work out, then you shower. But if you don't work out, what's your reminder that you're supposed to shower that day?
Yeah, it's so weird. Like the concept of showering just because is foreign to me. Like,
You're being environmentally conscious. You're saving water. You're saving soap and chemical, right? You're investing in earth is what you've been doing. And I can see some of the grime under. You haven't actually scrubbed. Yeah, that's from the run last week actually. So
yeah,
you're gonna give that a once over there.
Maybe my souvenir, my trail run.
hard-earned grime.
Yeah,
Well, I guess we're into it. So should we just crack a bevy right now and keep rolling?
Yeah. Let me.
It wasn't the way we intended to start.
I got a new flavor of tempo of rally today.
I'm still on bubbly. I ran out of my sparkling beverages yesterday, so I didn't replenish the allotment. So here we go. And by allotment, I mean the 6-packs that I've been purchasing for, I don't know, $14 a piece or something.
Cheers. I gotta admit, I did a fake open. We're doing dry January, but I had to present this.
My wife
and then
is doing dry January. We talked for 5 minutes before we went live. There are a lot of people that might be taking today and tomorrow off of dry January and going back at it on the weekend. This is being filmed, we're connecting right now on Wednesday. There's a lot going on in the world today. Yep. And so yeah, if you have to have a drink, you have to have a drink, and we can get right back at dry January in a couple of days. Just
some stresses are worth the day.
Sometimes you need to take the edge off, and as we both covered before, sleeping is the most important thing. And if a single drink is going to help take the edge off, then it's probably better to get the 8 hours and start tomorrow. But and there's a very different thing from a drinking problem and simply taking a break from drinking. But let's not get too deep on today's discussion. So I have draw prizes. So from last week, the first male and female commenter on the YouTube video would win the the Territory Runco hats. So that would be these hats, and they were won by
out of Portland, Oregon.
That's right. Correct. Nice work. Jonathan Nice, NYCE, Nice. Jonathan Nice and Deborah Cato. Deborah's a wonderful volunteer. She's volunteered at a bunch of specifically our Buck and Hell race on Seymour in July many times, and she dresses up like the devil. Literally, not like the devil. She dresses up as the devil and has a lot of fun out there.
Deborah is a fantastic member of the Vancouver running community.
A huge cheerleader and brings joy to so many people. So I'm glad that we get to present her with a little draw prize for this. And thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
And I want to add a couple of things to the draw prize mix, and that's going to be 2 of these Coast Mountain Trail Running Boco Tech hats. This is my favorite hat. I love the color scheme, and this is what I was wearing mostly in the Big Chill. And a lot of people actually commented and have since purchased these when they said, what hat were you wearing? Anyways, I love this hat, and I've got 2 of them. So I'm going to work those into the draw prizes. And I'm also going to give away a winter scavenger hunt buff, because these are extras that I happen to have kicking around. So now we got a box full of shiz to give away. And
those hats are great.
Yeah. We're going to do that through essentially guessing my run time for this weekend.
Yes.
And yeah, so I'm figuring we'll guess on this video or my Instagram channel. And because we have enough draw prizes, we'll just do a normal guess. I had proposed a month ago about doing the extra digits and separating and etc. And that makes things complicated. And we have enough draw prizes where if multiple people guess the same time, they will all win a draw prize. So when you see this, guess down below or on the Instagram side of things. And I'm assuming Rob's going to do a post as well, so you can guess through there, and then we'll see who comes closest to the mark this weekend.
Nice! I'm so excited. It is this weekend, and like you said, like we're 3 months on. We had a growing we had a familiarity block, and then we had a jamming block.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, dude, I remember when you first reached out about this challenge, I got that email, and I was like, I was super excited, and I was like, this is so cool. I'm really excited, and I was also very flattered that you reached out to me. And then I got really nervous, and I was like, I can't break Gary. I can't. I because I know you have so much on the go, right? And so, like, I was like, I know that we can push Gary hard, and I know that we can get him fast, but at the same time, I can't break him. And so it was a fun from the coaching side of thing. It was so much fun, and obviously you're a very diligent, hardworking athlete. So that was another thing from my side of the thing. I was like, I know he's gonna do what I ask him to do, so I got to make sure I tell him to do the right things. So you followed the training plan excellently. Your feedback was great. You're clearly a high performing athlete, and we've got you to a place where you're healthy, you're fit, and you're primed. And so this is good, man. I'm so excited about what's gonna go on this weekend. So we're thinking Saturday or Sunday, eh?
Yeah. So, I mean, and I want to say I've been thoroughly impressed with your coaching style. And I know off the hop, the first 3 weeks in particular were very challenging on your end because I kept stalling out. I kept having issues. And it was like, well, you were able to make all of the micro and macro changes that were completely necessary. You really listened to what I was asking and what I was saying, which is very important. And I grew to trust you in a very short period of time. So I've been really pleased with not only the friendship that we've been able to establish a little bit here, but certainly the coaching relationship. And yeah, it's as a coach myself, you know, all you can ask of your athletes is to do what you're instructing them to do. And I know how stressful it can be when you have athletes that struggle with that. So it felt good to get out there and do exactly the workouts that I was being tasked with doing, and to know that you were weekly ensuring that those workouts were representative of where my fitness was at. So, you know, you would make the adjustments from 1 week to the next as we saw those small bumps in fitness that continued to come with putting in the time of this is your new target, this is your new target, and this is your new target here.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, it's teamwork, right? The coaching athlete relationship, it's more of a team than anything, right? You learn how I work as a coach. I learn how you work as an athlete, and we find that cohesion, and we just crush it. And here we are, Gary. We are minus a couple days.
I do want to throw one thing in here. A couple of people commented on last week's video that the ads were super annoying and they were too frequent and they couldn't get through it. And I looked into this because I hadn't seen those comments before, and they were absolutely right. On my end, I just press a button that says monetize, and then YouTube's algorithm does its thing. And then I clicked on it, and it was like an ad every 90 to 120 seconds. It was insane. And I looked at the other videos, and I don't understand the algorithm or why, but it decided to throw a whole bunch of ads in this one last week's for no apparent reason. And so I went in and actually edited that. I removed 50% of them because it was way overkill. And I just want to thank the people that commented, and I want people to know that our goal here is to get uptake and for you guys to enjoy listening to this. And I don't want to complicate or lessen that experience with being saddled with too many ads. So there will still be ads, but I'll ensure that they are not overwhelming. And it's generally a 5-second skip. So if you didn't know that, it's like count to 5. There's a countdown on the bottom and you can skip the ad. But yeah, thank you for the feedback across the board. We are definitely listening. And one other thing I wanted to mention, I had in my notes here, which is outside of what we're talking about specifically, but it's this hat right here. And this is the Coast Mountain Trail Running Pride hat, which I'm super proud of because we launched this as a winter Christmas merchandise limited sale. And all proceeds from these hats were being donated to a Vancouver LGBTQ2 plus organization. And I am stoked to announce that we raised $2,500 from these hat sales that will be donated to that community here in Vancouver. So thank you to everyone who supported this. And then maybe we'll do it again next year and see if we can double down and make a few more dollars to donate to relevant organizations here in BC.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that, and great work with that initiative.
Thank you.
It's like,
and you guys have had some good initiatives with Mile to Marathon. And I think you should speak to that real quick for your outlook for 2021 and how you're looking to help out.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the discussions of inclusivity and representation. And sometimes our sport lacks in that. And there's challenging barriers that need to be identified and breached, and just to make this sport that we love more
Mhm.
accessible to others. So through Mile to Marathon, we started some initiatives of having an honors program where it's like we want to give, it's like we're a service that charges, and sometimes even it can be a financial barrier that's hard to overcome. So just like um, the Mile to Marathon honors program is just like providing people access to coaching and the group, if they are, who aren't traditionally in the position to do so. And the 2021, the window for applications has closed for the winter, but hopefully we'll re-up in the spring. But with that, it's just we ask for people to nominate friends or people who they know who could benefit from the physical, the mental, or just the social aspect that comes with running. Because you and I both know that running is a sport for physical development, but it's also a great mental outlet, and it can mentally uplift and empower people, and we want that to be part of it too. So through Mile to Marathon Honors, that's what we're looking to do.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a big boost to mental health. And even though running is one of the cheaper sports to get involved with, there are still barriers to entry for a lot of people that we often don't recognize. And in line with that, Coastal Mountain Trail Running with the winter scavenger hunt, that buff that I showed that we're giving away, we did a scholarship fund program through that, and we raised $13,500. And our scholarship fund will be invested 100% in helping to facilitate underprivileged to getting into our sport. So we're looking to essentially write checks to people, provide funds to people, so they can come and try out what we love so much. And that can be used for gear, for race entries, for coaching, for whatever is needed to hopefully help people come into this scene, and to make our community and the running community in general a little less whitewashed.
Awesome. That's so good. Yeah. And I know that you're involved with Endurance Tap and
yeah, the Changemaker program.
And the Changemaker program. So it's like there's good things out there going on to help give back within the sport. And you're a great ambassador for Endurance Tap, and I know they have the Changemakers program, which is the same thing, where percentages of sales can go towards these charities of your choice. And Mile to Marathon, we're going to be looking to becoming involved with that also, which is great to just use a platform to give back. So
absolutely. No, this is already making me feel better about today. So I want to make sure that's everything. Yeah, that's everything I had on my notes there. So now my question for you, Rob Watson, 10 kilometers race pace. How do, in theory, you approach a 10-kilometer race to have your best effort? And not with like specifics to time, but how do you jump off the hop? What are the struggle kilometers? And where does it really become, where are your fight points where you've really got to step up and like really face the music and push through the pain?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is how I'd break down a 10K. First off, warm up is very important. The 10K is a short enough race where you don't want to leave time out there as you're warming up into the race. So during your warm up, do your standard pre-workout warm up, do your drills, get some good quality strides in. I like to do something called like priming the pump, where it's like a 5-minute, like almost like tempo-ish, like half
Right.
before, just to get the legs ready. So when the gun goes, you are ready to get into race effort. And the first kilometer is interesting because 9 times out of 10, your first 100 meters is going to be significantly faster than race pace, right? So a lot of times what happens over a 10K is people like, let's say, for example, I want to run 4-minute kilometers. Their first 100 meters is done at like 3:20 per kilometer. And then they look at their watch and they're like, oh, I'm going too fast. I'm going to slow down. So they slam on the brakes and they go from running 3:20 and they overcorrect and they start running 4:20s. And then they come through the kilometer and they're like, yeah, I'm right on pace at 4 minutes. But at that point, you're going like 4:10. right? So it's challenging. So
Yep.
I like to think is the first kilometer is more like feel it out and try to fine tune the pace. And then from kilometers 1, I'm like 2 and 3 is when you really want to lock into the pace because you're still fresh. The first kilometer happens. It is what it is. You don't want to panic. And if you're 5 seconds too fast, speed up. You're too slow, slam on the brakes. That's when you kind of like the first kilometer is going to happen. It's when you open up the legs, get into the race, get over the nerves. And then from kilometers 2 to 3 to like kilometer 2 and kilometer 3, it's finding the pace, finding the race effort and settling in. All right. And once you find that race pace and once you find that race effort, kilometers 3, 4, 5, you don't want to do anything. You just want to run. You want to get into your zone. You don't want to overthink things. You don't want to be surging. You don't want to be wasting energy. You just want to be on pace running. And you don't want to be overthinking things. Like it's just movement. And then I find at about 5.5, 6K is when you're going to start to feel that like, hey, we're working, we're racing. This is happening, right? And that can be kind of scary because you still have sometimes 4 kilometers to go. And depending on your pace, that
40% of your distance still to cover.
Yeah. And it's like, we got a long way to go. We're at 6K and I'm starting to feel this effort, but also that's fine. That is okay. And that is kind of expected. Fight kilometers, number 7, number 6.5, 7, 8. Those kilometers are very hard. But within your training, and the point of training is to put yourself in those positions where you're running hard and you're managing this challenging effort and you're managing fatigue and you're managing pain. And you've hopefully given yourself the mental tools to process that and manage that. It's like when you're doing hard miles or 10-minuters, right? You know, that those last reps where it's really, really hard. But you do it and then you look at your watch afterwards, like that was really, really hard, but I hit my paces. So that having that belief and, you know, your threshold is coming down and you're starting to maybe go anaerobic, you're starting to collect some lactic acid and you're starting to feel that burn. So kilometers 6, 7, 8, it's focusing and it's keep pushing, keep going. And then you get to kilometer 9 and dude, you just bite your lip and you go. And kilometer 9 hurts, but that's racing, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, first K, let it happen. Don't overthink it. Get off the line. And then after like the first 500 meters, it's all about settling and finding pace. Kilometer 2, kilometer 3, they're going to be happening. They'll be kind of boring. Kilometer 4 and 5, maintain focus. It's inevitably going to start hurting. And when it does start hurting is when you really got to dig in mentally and physically and keep pushing. You can't back off. You got to keep pushing when it hurts. You got to push back. How's that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. Yeah, I run in miles. So I'm doing the conversion in my head. So we're running a 10K. No. I wanted you to talk about it in kilometers because that's what the conversation is. So the reason I run in miles, I get this all the time of like, you're Canadian. I'm like, yes, I'm very aware that I'm Canadian and American is a US thing. And then one small country in West Africa. The reason I started running in miles was when I was training to do ultra distance events years ago. I found that switching to miles made me want to run longer because the numbers were harder to get to, meaning if I was in kilometers and I ran 14 kilometers, I would feel like that was a good distance, but 14 kilometers is 8.5 miles, not even 9 miles. So when I switched to miles, it was like, I've run 8.5. It doesn't feel like I've done enough. So I would push to 10. And I found that it was a trick mentally to just get me to do a little bit more volume. And the funny thing for me is I signed up I had an injury. I'm guessing this was 2011 or something, but I ran a 50 miler in Washington State, Olympia. And I signed up for the 50 miler and my watch had switched to kilometers for some reason. And it started beeping after the kilometers. And I was in the race and I was prepared mentally for running 50 miles. And my watch started clicking kilometers and I wasn't prepared for 81 kilometers. And I had this breakdown mentally. I was like, my body was processing like, wait, did you actually sign up for an 81 kilometer race today? Like that's insane. I'm like, yeah, but it's 50 miles. It's the same thing, Gary. Like you signed up for 50 and you knew that. So it's weird how your brain processes numbers like that. But the reason I've stuck with miles is I've always felt it to be a little bit easier to wrap my head around. And then finally, the 100 miles is the distance that I've tried to race. That's my chosen like race distance to perform at. And I don't train for 161 kilometers. I train for 100 miles. So that's the reasoning behind it. And here we are today doing my last workout, and it was 5 by a kilometer. And I was like, okay, a kilometer is 0.62 miles. So I was running 0.62 before hitting the button. But then when I hit it from my laps, I was like, is it 0.62 or 0.622? And I have no idea if I was plus or minus like 50 or 100 meters for a kilometer. But yeah, that's my game for myself, is run miles and run longer.
I should have had to do 800, man. I'm sorry about that. Half miles. Should have had to do half miles. That makes sense. And I think that just goes to like the mental gymnastics we're playing in our heads. Right. And it'll happen to you on the weekend when you're racing. Like, yeah, it's like, as the distance gets like, as you get deeper into the race, you start like breaking it down into smaller segments. It's like when I used to run marathons, I'd be like, all right, just get to half, right? And you get to half, and then you're like, oh, cool, now get to 25. And then by the end, you're like, get to that lamppost, right? It's just like the tricks we play in our head to like wrap our minds around things. I'll never forget the first marathon I ever ran. It was the Houston, and so it was in America, so everything was in miles, but they had every 10 kilometer marked. And I remember I was blowing up and I was dying. And I came through 24 miles, and the miles were going by so slow. But then I saw the next sign. I was like, sweet, that's 25 miles. I'll have a mile to go type thing. But then it was the 40 kilometer and not the 25. And even that, I was like, that broke my spirit a little bit, knowing that it was like, oh no, but it's the tricks we play to do what we got to do. And I'm sure you've gone through that so much in your crazy long running distances, right? It's probably there's a lot
to process. Yeah. The great quote that I love, and I don't know if it's attributed to anybody specifically. I can't actually say if I morphed this over the years or if it came from someone, but it's essentially the greatest distance you'll ever cover in any running event is the one between your ears. And I just think that's so accurate, right? And that's it. And what's so perfect about this, what we've been doing, is that's as applicable for me this weekend over 6.2 miles as it is for me over 100 miles. The toughest, the struggle, the greatest distance is going to be just what's going on in your head between your ears. So out of curiosity, what was your marathon debut time?
2:16 and 17 seconds. Yeah.
Incredible. And yet it was not what you were anticipating. What were you hoping to run in your debut?
2:11:30. Because I had an interesting marathon career, whereas like most marathons I ran, I was chasing some sort of standard. And that marathon, it was like the Olympic standard was 2:11:30, so we might as well go for 2:11:30. If I knew what I know now at that point, I would have been like, let's run 2:13. Right. But I didn't know that. I'm not going to throw my coach under the bus, but I think I could have used some better guidance on that pacing. But also, anyone who knows me is like, Rob, it's just as much on you too. But we kind of got each other hyped up and excited, and like looking at like, this person was doing this work at this fast, and you're doing it this fast, so I think you can go faster type thing. So I went out there trying to run 2:11:30, and I didn't run it, and I was like crestfallen, and I was devastated. And now looking back, and I was like, my first marathon was 2:16. That's pretty damn good. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just running. And so that was Houston Marathon in 2011, I want to say. I came 4th place. That was pretty good too.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. That's an incredible debut. But yeah, like you said, right, you had set yourself up for a different expectation on a very different scale. Like it's a parallel, but it's a very winding parallel to get to. But my 5K time trial, right? Like we were in low 17 fitness range, and I was like, well, let's just go for it and see if we can break 17 minutes out here today. And I probably left 15 to 20 seconds on the table for my 5K time trial because I was trying to run 10 to 15 seconds faster than I had in me at that time. Yeah. So yeah, a very, again, it's a bit of a winding connection, but I get that. It was like, well, I don't care about my 5K time trial time. I care about my 10K. And if I break 17, I'm going to be stoked. And if I go 17:10 or 17:40, it's all kind of the same to me at that point anyways.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people. It's like, I was in shape to run 2:12 to 2:13 in the marathon a lot. Like that was probably my sweet spot. But I ran a lot of 2:16 and 2:17 marathons because I was trying to run 2:10 or 2:11, right? It's like if you set yourself up, it's not like you just you give back chunks of time on the end is basically what I'm getting at, right? You hold that pace to 34K and then you're giving back 30 seconds a kilometer because you blow up so hard. So, but
so you just took all your marathon experience and you applied it directly to your 100K.
Big time. Big time.
If you've got a formula that works for you, Rob, you just stick with it, right?
I have my father is a smart man, but his race tactics aren't always on point, and he always told me fade from the front. Just fade from the front. When you're leading the race, you're controlling and everyone's got to catch you. And I was like, all right, whatever, fade from the front. And it worked enough when I was younger and like better than people. But then when the older I got, it's like people just sat on me and outkicked me. So, but it's always what I did.
Thanks for being our rabbit. You're the pacer, right?
But I'm good at pacing. I'm good at pacing.
And this is it now. So for this weekend, so we haven't determined Saturday or Sunday. So Saturday is a nicer weather day. Sunday means my wife can come out, and she wants, and my son, and they'd love to be a part of it, and I'd love that too. The only thing, the only reason I wouldn't go with Sunday is if the weather was supposed to be particularly nasty compared to Saturday. And it looks like Saturday has more sunshine, but the wind is what I'm most concerned about, even though I'll have you as a pacer. And the wind looks very similar, comparable on both days. And Sunday looks like it's not going to be super miserable. There's just going to be pockets of stuff throughout the day. So I say we go with Sunday, and you said Sunday works for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday.
And then, so then Linda and Reed can come join, and they'll drive along and yell at us, which is fun. So explain what we're doing for a course, because there's been some relevant questions as to like where I'm doing this. Are we doing it on a track, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got a great course set, thankfully, to BC Athletics, right?
Yeah, are you comfortable with that one out at Derby Reach?
As long as we know the exact like where the start, finish, turnaround, like all the information was there in that document. Mm-hmm. But I had an athlete I told about this, and he drove out there and he couldn't find any markings. So that was my concern, was like, are we going to get there and not know for sure? My only thing I'm anal about for this run this weekend is getting the distance right? Like I want to run 10 kilometers. I don't want to run 9.98. I don't want to run 10.05. I want a 10K time that's accurate. So as long as we know the course and we're 100% confident, then I'm all in.
Okay, cool. Yes. Absolutely. And if Richard Lee is true to his word, we have a really detailed course that's been certified by BC Athletics. So, and it's flat-ish. It's mostly pretty darn flat. Like you can roll on it pretty good.
Okay, because as soon as you did this, I had an aneurysm. And when you did this, my heart stopped.
I'm sorry. So I got to be more. So what we'll do is we will do our warm up on the course.
Right. Yeah. Cause it's a 5K out and back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's a place I've run there frequently myself. And if it's the part where I think he's talking about, it's long straightaways, nice shoulder to run on. The only annoying thing is that there is like the turnaround is 180 degrees. So you'll have to like, do that type thing. Yeah. But the good thing is when you do that turnaround, you're on your way back, and every step you take is closer to the finish line.
How much time do you give away on a turnaround?
Depends on the athlete. A second and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. And it also depends on where the turnaround happens on the course. Like if you're turning around at 8K, it can be harder to get.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Get
back onto pace.
Right.
But if you're turning on at 5K, you should be fine to speed up on the pace. And it also depends on how wide you take it and how wide of a turnaround it is. But this one's just a button hook, so we'll just turn around and pivot. And also depending on the shoes you wear, some shoes don't corner as well. Those Nike shoes don't corner super well. So we'll just have to make sure whatever you're wearing, you're gonna wear, and we'll figure that out. But yeah, we'll get out there. So that Derby Reach out there near Fort Langley, and we'll give her a go, man. Nice road 10K.
Yeah, the Salomon Sonic RA Max, I think it's a 2 now, is the shoe that I've got from Salomon that I've been running my road miles in. So I'm loving that shoe.
Okay, good. That's good to know because my brother lives up in Whistler, and he was like, Rob, like, what running shoes should I wear? He's like, there's a Solomon store and a Foot Locker, and I'm like, go to the Solomon store. They have good road shoes. And
I've
I was
actually been impressed. I've been impressed. Yeah, Solomon obviously not being a road company, and they took a stab at it a couple of years ago and had a couple of false starts, I guess I'd say. But yeah, this shoe again, I think it's the second version I've got. It's the 2020 version. I'm assuming it'll be 3 this year, but it fits great. It's a good all around shoe for road running. Super comfy.
Oh yeah, congratulations, because you did.
Yeah, and I went with Solomon again this year, which is no small deal given the current situation with outdoor brands around the world. So I really, want to thank Solomon for continuing to invest in me as an athlete. I understood that it was going to be complicated to renew based on circumstances, and everything went swimmingly. And I know that they had to work hard to make that happen. So I'm very pleased and proud to represent Solomon. It's been 9 years, 2013. Since I switched to Solomon. So here's a funny story, and then we'll probably wrap it here since we in just a sec. But so my last injury cycle, I call them, was in 2010. I broke my foot back-to-back Jones fractures, and in a calendar year, I was 8.5 months on non-weight bearing crutches. And then in 2011, I started getting my fitness back. And then 2012 started racing again. But it was only the back half of 2012 that I really started to get back to the level I was at that time, which was pretty quick. And I raced a 50 miler in Virginia, Mountain Masochist, and it was a Western States qualifier. And I was at the front of the race. I was in 3rd place, and I was pushing for at least top 2 for the automatic slot into Western States.
That golden ticket.
Yeah. And they changed the course that year, and we got up into the snow, and I really started actually like outrunning people in the snow just based on my familiarity with it versus people from the general vicinity out there.
Yeah. No,
and I took
people down there don't do snow.
And I misinterpreted the course and ran a full 6 kilometers back the wrong way to an aid station. And I got there, and the race director, David Horton, was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, trying to get my gear and get my food and get out of there. And he's like, you just came the wrong way. I took a 10-kilometer detour in the race, 6. Yeah, it was about 10 total kilometers. I sat down, embarrassed, behind a truck for about 10 minutes. And then I got up, and I was like, it was my 3rd time racing Mountain Masochist. And I was like, you know what? I've raced this 3 times. Like, clearly my day is done. It's gone. I'm not getting in my auto entry. And I'm going to go meet the volunteers. Like, I've done this race. I've flown out to Virginia for 3 straight years. I've never had a chance to thank people. So I turned around, I ran back the 6K had gone wrong, and I started hanging out at aid stations and thanking people for their efforts. And then I think I finished 14th or something like that in the end. But my fitness was clearly there. Like, I was at the front of the field, and I know that if I didn't take a wrong turn, I would have finished 2nd at worst. I think I was 3rd when I took the wrong turn. And I would have been battling for 1st. And I was sponsored by Montreal Mountain Hardware at the time, and they were making some cuts, and they cut me from the team in December. And I was frustrated because I felt like they weren't paying attention to my upswing. And this was actually at the very end of November. So it worked out to my benefit in many ways. But essentially, I got cut on like a Tuesday. And I messaged my friend James Varner at Rain Shadow Running, and that weekend, like 4 days later, was the Deception Pass 50K. And I was like, "Hey, can I race Deception on Saturday?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." So actually, I think it was later in the week. I think it was like Wednesday, Thursday. Anyways, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, jumped in my car, drove down to Deception Pass. I wore all of the brightest gear I had that wasn't Montreal Mountain Hardware. So it was like blatantly obvious that like I don't have a sponsor right now. And then I won the race and broke the course record and was the first person to break 4 hours in the race. And then 5 weeks later, I went to Hurt and ran 19 hours, 35 minutes for the still standing course record at Hurt. And Solomon picked me up in like the 3-week interim there. So I have a lot to be thankful for Solomon. And it's not to throw Mountain Hardware under the bus. I still have very good friends at the company, and I know the reason they made the decisions. And they were very good to me over the years. So anyways, sometimes things, you think they go wrong, and it works out better in the end. But I ran angry at Deception Pass, and I ran hard for 3 hours and 50 some odd minutes, 50, whatever it was. And was one of the fastest, best 50K races I've had.
Good for you. Hey man, get a chip on your shoulder. That's some fuel. And that's awesome. And also it's you're just a good dude for taking your lumps on that day and hanging out with the volunteers and everything. But yeah, it's a challenging environment with sports these days. So yeah, it's awesome for
Yeah.
Solomon to continue to believe in you and support you, and they clearly see the benefit to it. And they've been doing really cool stuff. I mean, they're one of the leaders in the ultra trail space. Um, so yeah, it's a great company to work with, and
You've got a great relationship with Lululemon. So I'll throw to you and we'll close it out there. But like you've got a good thing going on there. So yeah, what's the you're working with them still in 2021?
yeah, you know what? Like I've been in this sport for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of companies, and I'm not faulting the other companies. Everyone does what they do. They do it what they do at their capacity. But man, working with Lululemon is the best relationship I've ever had working with a brand by far. I think it's because they have a dedicated ambassador team. It's partnership based. We're working with you because we like what you're doing. So we want to elevate your space rather than you to come like exist in our space type thing.
It's a relationship.
Yeah, it's like you're doing what you're doing. You want to do this together type thing, and they're doing what they're doing, and then we go at it, and it's been really really fun. And it's just like being a global run ambassador with them as they move more into the run space. It's been really really cool to see the whole process. Like I get to work with the events team and the research and development team and the ambassador squad, and like it's crazy the points of contact and the education, but just it's good people I work with, and it's like the relationships I have there with the program manager and the people who work boots on the ground in Vancouver, and they're good people, and it's a Vancouver based company, and it's just something I've really really enjoyed it, and I feel very fortunate to be a part of the team. So yeah, it's like you said, you clearly have a good relationship with Solomon, and it works for you, and it allows you to do what you want to do, and they support and they elevate, and it's a partnership. And it's the same thing with Lululemon. It's a partnership, and we're working together I'm trying to help them learn more about the run space and help elevate their run space. And they're invaluable to help me do what I want to do with my running and with my ultra marathon and things. So it's a partnership I'm very, very grateful for. And I realize I'm very, very fortunate to be in the position I am. So yeah.
Well, you worked hard for your whole life to become one of the fastest runners in the country. I mean, really, you deserve what's come to you. I think the only I think the only unfortunate part about that is it took you that long to get to a partnership that has been mutually beneficial for runner and company. And it is those of us, you and I, other people who've been in running sponsorship circles for many moons know there's not a lot of money and support floating around.
Yeah.
So it is nice when you know that the good guys like yourself end up finding a relationship that really works for them when you've worked so hard to become the best runner that you can and struggled, year after year to get the support necessary to do so.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah.
It's, you know what? It's like, do the sport to run fast, have cool experiences, and if you love it, you'll make it work. And we're fortunate enough where sometimes other people believe in you also, and they're willing to help you out. And it's just, yeah, like you said, like especially in the Canadian market, it's a small market, so there's not a whole lot of money behind it.
Yeah.
So
smaller than California.
Yeah.
All of Canada is smaller than California sales wise.
Well,
right? That's in perspective.
I was talking to someone from the Lululemon brand, and I was like, I think we can be like one of the best run brands in Canada. I think we can do that. And he's like, but that's like California, man. We got to be bigger. We got to be bigger than that. Like we got to think big time. And I was like, all right, well, let's, but like, it's a challenging, it's a smaller market. So like, it's nice to get support. And I know like there's so many good runners out there that are struggling to get support, and given the current climate, and it's challenging to see these people. You're like, man, I wish, but it's the realities of our sport, unfortunately. So when you do have the support, it's great. You're very grateful to have it.
Yeah, and it's also, a lot of the sport is doing it for the love of doing it.
Yep, absolutely.
And I see that as a race director. I see people that come on the scene hot and heavy, and they're all about racing and sponsorship and trying to make a name for themselves. And I see people sometimes burn out because it's not what they thought it was going to be. They've over glorified the picture of what a professional or semi-professional trail runner in Canada actually is. And I find the people that are doing it for the love of it are the ones that have longevity. And I've said this for many years, whether I had sponsorship or not going into this year or any other year, I would still be doing everything the exact same that I am now, right? That doesn't influence what I want to pursue as a person. It's nice to be recognized from a company for contributing and to have a relationship there. But if all of that stuff goes away tomorrow, it's not like I'm not going to continue to do exactly what I've been doing on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis for the last 15 years.
100%, man. 100%. You got to have that internal fire and that internal drive, and you know, you're going to be running no matter what you're running in.
As long as I'm uninjured, and even when I am injured, I'll find something else. I fell in love with biking again. I love my skiing. I've got multi-sport. And as someone, again, who's in his mid-40s, I think it's critically important to not just be a runner, because you need to balance things out, keep yourself uninjured, and movement, right? Movement. Motion is lotion, and movement is healthy, both mentally and physically. So as long as I can move, I'm a pretty happy person.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna lean into weightlifting. So my quads don't suck so much.
All right. And with that, we'll wrap it here tonight. Guess my time for 10 kilometers. It is happening on Sunday, January the 10th, on a flat out and back 5-kilometer course that is BC Athletics sanctioned. I will have a pacer in Rob Watson, and we have a time in mind that we've had since day one, and we will be shooting for that specifically. Good luck. And we'll do this again next week. We'll announce the winners, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days, my friend.
Yeah, man. Let's sort out the details and the times and stuff like that. And let's do some Instagramming on the day and things like that, and so people can follow along, or what?
I'm not going to be doing anything. I'll do pre and post for sure.
No, that's what I meant. I mean, we'll do
I'm not doing 100K.
when we're running, we're running. And then,
my wife is going to be there, and she will be able to do an update of some sort as well. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of updating as we go, but yeah, it's go time. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to see you on Sunday morning.
Sweet, man. Can't wait.